Brain of Britain, the nationwide general knowledge contest, chaired by Russell Davis.
Well, thank you and hello. Halfway through the 2018 heats, we have some impressive candidates already lined up for the semi-final stage in a couple of months' time. Here at the Radio Theatre in London, another 4 contenders are with me, hoping to join them. Let's lose no time in meeting today's brains.
Hello, I'm Rob Butlin. I work in advertising and I come from Great Doddington in Northamptonshire.
Hello, I'm Cathy Price. I'm from Sunderland and I'm retired.
And I'm Brian Rolls, a retired IT professional from Maidenhead, Berkshire.
Hi, I'm Tom Williams. I'm a personal assistant from London.
Well, don't forget, it's not necessarily just the winner who'll go through to the semi-finals today, but there are places for the top-scoring runners-up across the series. So it really is worth going for every point you can, and if you don't know the answer, there's nothing to be lost and everything to be gained by having a guess. You get 10 seconds thinking time with your own questions, which runs out when you hear this. And I can't accept any answer given after the bell has sounded, I'm afraid. And remember, too, that 5 correct answers in a row will win you a further bonus point. Good luck, all 4 of you. We always go in alphabetical surname order, so the first question of this 7th heat is yours, Rob Butlin. St. Bede, the monk and historian born in the 7th century, from whom we get much of our knowledge of the early church in England, spent most of his life in the monastery at which town on the south bank of the River Tyne?
Gateshead.
I'm afraid it wasn't. Cathy Price.
Jarrow.
It was Jarrow at the monastery of St. Paul. Jarrow also famous as the starting point of the March in 1936 and as the childhood home of the writers Catherine Cookson and Alan Plater, the musician Alan Price and the runner Steve Cram. Cathy Price, your question. And talking of runners, when the late Sir Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile barrier for the first time at the Iffley Road track in Oxford in 1954, who were his 2 pace setters?
Chris Chataway. No.
Only one name there. Rob Butlin?
Chris Chataway and Chris Berkshire.
Those are the 2, yes. Chataway, later a Conservative MP, Berkshire, the co-founder of the London Marathon. Brian Rolls, in The Tale of Mrs. Tittlemouse by Beatrix Potter, Mrs. Tittlemouse has her day severely disturbed when Mr. Jackson calls and ransacks her house in search of honey. What kind of creature is Mr. Jackson?
A bear?
No. Rob Butlin?
A fox.
No. Tom Williams?
A badger?
No. I'm enjoying this tour of the natural world. One more to go. One more guess. Yes, Cathy Price.
A rabbit.
No. Oddly enough, he's a toad. What he's doing searching for honey, I don't know. But he's a toad literally and metaphorically, I'd say. Tom Williams, which movement began in Nottingham and culminated in a region-wide rebellion that lasted from 1811 to 1816?
The Chartists?
No. Brian Rolls.
Luddites?
The Luddite movement, yes. Their leader, real or imaginary, was known as King Ludd or Captain Ludd, after a probably mythical Ned Ludd, and no relation to the famous judge Me Ludd. That's the end of the first round. Rob Butlin won, Cathy Price won, Brian Rolls won, Thomas Williams yet to score, but it'll come. Now, Rob Butlin, which film released in 1984 was the prequel to 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That's the one. The tropical disease African trypanosomiasis, most commonly caused by a bite from the tsetse fly, goes by which common name?
Malaria?
No. Tom Williams.
Sleeping sickness.
That's the one. Yes, it's caused by microscopic parasites. Cathy Price. Along the top line of letters on a standard so-called QWERTY keyboard, the sequence from left to right is Q, W, E, R, T, then Y. And which letter comes next?
X.
No. Thomas Williams.
U.
You is right, yes. Qwerty Uiop is the full top line. Brian Rolls. The Crescent pub opposite Mornington Crescent Tube Station was renamed in 2010 in honour of which late Radio 4 presenter?
Humphrey Littleton.
Yes, I believe the suggestion came from a Mrs. Trellis of North Wales. It's now the Littleton Arms. Hump, of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, refereed the so-called game of Mornington Crescent, one of the hardest things in our cultural life to explain to foreigners. Next question, Planck time is a term used by physicists to describe the period of time immediately after what?
The Big Bang.
Yes, and it's a very short time indeed. That's all I can tell you about it. What word is most commonly given to the breaking away of large sections of ice from the edge of a glacier, the process by which icebergs are formed?
Fragmentation.
No, it would do, but it's not the one. Thomas Williams?
Carving.
Carving, yes, spelt as in cattle. And it's your question, Tom Williams. Father Mapple, a preacher based in New Bedford, Massachusetts, is a character in which 1851 novel?
No.
No, right. Brian Rolls?
Little Women.
No. Rob Butlin?
Uncle Tom's Cabin.
No. Kathy Price, have a go? No, shake of head. It's the very large Moby Dick, or The Whale by Herman Melville. D.H. Lawrence called it the greatest book of the sea ever written. Father Mapple himself is a former whaler. And that's the end of round 2, and the scores are these. Kathy Price 1, Rob Butlin 2, Brian Rolls and Thomas Williams 3 apiece. Now, Rob Butlin, music comes with your next question as we hear a piece by Claude Debussy, who died 100 years ago this year, in 1918. It's an excerpt from the first movement of his Petite Suite, as orchestrated by his colleague Henri Busser. I'd like you to tell me what sort of activity it describes.
Skating?
No. Now, Tom Williams.
Dreaming?
No. Brian Rolls.
Rowing down a river.
Yes, yes. It's actually sailing. But yes, rowing down a river, it's fine. We heard part of the movement entitled in French, En bateau. And I think Debussy would have been disappointed if you hadn't noticed the wateriness of it. Now, Kathy Price, what item has varieties that translate from Spanish into English as crown, bull, and long thin biscuit? Out of time. Yes, Tom Williams.
Cigars?
Yes, indeed. You're right, because they are Corona, Toro, and Panatella, respectively. I didn't know a Panatella was a long, thin biscuit, but there you go. Brian Rolls. Which state of America was admitted to the Union on the 3rd of January 1959?
Hawaii.
I'm afraid not. Rob Butlin?
Alaska.
Yes, it had to be one of the two, didn't it? And it was Alaska, followed on the 21st of August 1959 by Hawaii. Tom Williams, the sculpture with the title Winged Figure, unveiled in 1963, is located on the side of the John Lewis department store on Oxford Street in London. Who created it?
Barbara Hepworth.
Dame Barbara Hepworth, yes. Which word, originally used in a military context, was described by Antoine-Henri Jomini in his Summary of the Art of War as the practical art of moving armies?
Logistics?
Yes, now seemingly the accepted word for what used to be called heavy haulage on motorways and so on. When a fruit tree at Woolsthorpe Manor in Lincolnshire blew down in a storm in 1820, it was cut up by local villagers and made into souvenirs. What was thought to be particularly special about this tree?
The mythical discovery of gravity.
Yes.
The apple falling from it.
Yes, indeed. It was believed to be the same tree from which an apple had fallen, causing Isaac Newton to devise his theory of gravity. I always thought we had Newton's tree in Cambridge, but apparently that's a descendant by propagation of the Woolsthorpe tree. The famous triple portrait of Charles I by Van Dyck was intended to help which sculptor to create a marble bust of the king, which was lost in the Great Fire that destroyed Whitehall Palace in 1698?
Donatello.
No. Brian Rolls.
Bellini?
No, afraid not. Is Rob Butlin flashing?
Bazzini?
No. You sensed there was something close going on there, and you were right. It's Bernini, Gian Lorenzo Bernini. That the canvas, of course, happily survives. End of another round. Kathy Price still on 1, Rob Butlin 3, Brian Rolls 4, Thomas Williams now 7. And we've reached the point of the programme where traditionally we give our contenders a chance to sit back and take a breather for a couple of minutes. We'd like them to pool their knowledge and see if they can come up with answers to 2 fiendish questions devised by a Brain of Britain listener, hoping to beat the brains. Today's questions are from Denny Plowman in Nottingham, and if the 4 of you collectively can't deal with his questions satisfactorily, he will win a modest prize. In a minute, I'll tell you how you can suggest your own question ideas for this part of the programme, but first, let's see how our panel get on with Denny Plowman's teasers. He would like to know, first, where would you find a footman, a flyer, 2 maidens, and a mother of all in one place?
Any ideas at all?
A footman, a flyer, a mother of all,
2 maidens.
A mother of all, which is hyphenated together.
a group of stars or something.
Doesn't make a bell.
I have no idea whatsoever.
Not anything to do with the pantomime, the footman in Cinderella, or...
I suspect they're named for objects of some sort. It's not going to be literal in any way.
A church?
Let's try in a theatre or something.
Oh, a theatre?
Yeah. Seems
Go with
reasonable,
it.
yeah.
We'll try for in a theatre.
No, smaller, I'm afraid. On a spinning wheel, because they're all names given to component parts of a spinning wheel. Here's Mr. Plowman's second question, and now you've got the hang of this, it's on a similar pattern. Where would you find a horse, a shoe, a damsel, and a governor, again, all in one place?
That's not on a sewing machine, is it?
Governor, sort of a
governor
control
sounds-
sort
Yeah,
of thing.
could
Yeah.
sounds like a machine, certainly.
Is that?
Thinking of pipes.
That's not too close to the last one, is it?
I don't think it's
Should we go with a sewing machine?
Use any of your
Like the
suggestions.
book
You
tokens
say.
going in?
A sewing machine?
Haha, no, not as close as that. It's a windmill, and again they're names of different component parts. The horse is a wooden frame supporting the shoe, which is a chute that directs grain into the eye of the millstone, and the rotating shaft that nudges it is called the damsel. The governor, meanwhile, automatically adjusts the gap between the millstones. So, thank you for your intriguing, mechanically themed questions, Danny Plowman. You didn't give us the parts of a plough, which are rather interesting too, but some other time perhaps. Anyway, very well done on outwitting our brains with both sections. We'll be sending you a book voucher to spend on whatever you choose, and from here in the Radio Theatre, we also send you this beautifully coordinated round of applause. Please do keep sending us your suggestions for this part of the programme. You can send question ideas to us at any time by emailing them to brainofbritain@bbc.co.uk or by following the contact link on our web pages. Or you can always jot them down, stick them in an envelope and send them to us at Brain of Britain, BBC Dock House, Media City, UK, Salford, M50 2LH. They can be linked in concept, as Mr. Plowman's definitely were, or entirely unrelated. And we'll do our very best to let you know in advance if we plan to include them in a future edition. Let's get back to the contest proper then, and another round begins with your next question, Rob Butlin. Which modern African country occupies that part of the Atlantic coastline once known as the Pepper Coast?
Sierra Leone.
No. Sorry. Tom Williams?
Gabon?
No. Kathy Price?
Namibia.
No. Brian Rolls?
Morocco?
No. Nice tour, but you didn't get as far as Liberia, which is the one we were after. Now, Kathy Price, you might remember that in the 1990s there was much use of the phrase Cool Britannia to refer to the cultural dominance of British musicians and visual artists around the world. But here's a group who used that very phrase 30 years earlier on a pastiche song which opened their 1967 album Gorilla. I'd like you to name them.
Britannia, Britannia, you are cool. Take a trip. Britain's ever, ever, ever shall be. Hip, hip me, hip me.
Nope.
Nope.
No. All right. Rob Butlin?
The Bonzo Dog Doodah Band.
Correct. Well done. I'm well remembered about the doodah because I think they dropped that quite soon and just became the Bonzo Dog Band. But you're right, that was good. Brian Rolls. Gilbert and Sullivan's operettas Iolanthe, Princess Ida and the Mikado were all premiered in which decade?
1880s?
That's right, 1882, 1884, and 85, respectively. Based on their means of reproduction, mammals can be either placental mammals, marsupials, or which other category?
Monotremes.
Yes, and they comprise the platypus and the echidnas, and they lay eggs. St. Joan of Arc, who was killed in 1431, was canonized in which year? I'll give you the point if you can get within 5 years either side.
1951.
No. Now then, room for a guess, Rob Butlin.
1981.
No. Tom Williams.
1905.
No. Kathy Price?
1436.
Oh, that was pretty prompt. No. They were right in thinking it was quite a long time later. 1920 it happened. Now, Tom Williams, what does the C stand for in the name of the American media company CBS?
Consolidated?
No. Rob Butlin?
Central.
Nope. Brian Rolls?
Columbia.
Yes, it's the Columbia Broadcasting System and ever has been. End of another round. Here are the scores. Kathy Price stuck on 1 a bit. Rob Butlin 4. Brian Rolls and Tom Williams 7 apiece. Now then, Rob Butlin. In a 2014 Costa Prize-winning book by Helen MacDonald, who or what is Mabel?
An animal.
No. Yes, Tom Williams.
A hawk?
Yes, you're right. The book is H is for Hawk, and it's a goshawk, actually. Kathy Price. The surviving diary of Samuel Pepys records the events of a single complete decade in British history. Which decade?
1660s.
That's right, indeed. Land der Berge, Land am Strome is the title of the national anthem of which country?
Austria?
Austria is right, yes. What word, derived from the Old French for filling a cask, denotes the amount by which a container falls short of being full? of time. Tom Williams?
Ullage.
Ullage, U-L-L-A-G-E is right. And we come to Brian Rolls' music question. The following piece of music may be familiar.
Eric Coates.
No. Rob Butlin?
Rachmaninoff?
No. Kathy Price?
Carl Davis.
No.
Liszt.
No, Tom Williams, it wasn't Liszt. It was Ludovico Einaudi. And I think that's got you puzzled. The piece is called I Giorni, which translates as The Days. Einaudi is a living composer. His father was the famous publisher Giulio Einaudi in Italy, and his grandfather was president of Italy in the post-war years. Tom Williams, your question now. What scientific term is given to the heat absorbed or given out by a substance as it changes its phase at constant temperature? For example, boiling water to steam, freezing water to ice.
Specific capacity.
No. Rob Butlin?
Convection?
Not convection, I fear. Brian Rolls?
Latent heat.
That's the one. Latent heat. Yes, I seem to remember that from chemistry long ago, but I have no idea what it meant till now. And that's the end of a round. And Kathy Price now has 3, Rob Butlin 4, Brian Rolls 8, and Tom Williams 9. And I have to tell you, this has got to be the final round, folks, as we come back to Rob Butlin one last time. King Alfred's cake, orange peel, and witch's butter are all types of what?
Mushroom.
Yes, I'll give you that, because they are fungi. I expect more than one of them is actually a toadstool, but fungi is fine. That's all right. A French mining engineer by the name of Albert Mathieu is credited with being the first person to conceive the idea for what in 1802?
Oh, is that the Channel Tunnel?
It is the Channel Tunnel, yes. It was to be an idea only, revived many times, but not realised until the 1990s. The present system, of course, consists of 3 tunnels, 2 rail tunnels, and a service tunnel. Which prolific British actor who died in 2014 also directed 2 films, both of which he starred in, The Raggedy Rawny in 1988 and Rainbow in 1996.
Pete Postlethwaite?
No. That's a good try, but no. Anybody else going to have a guess? Lots of actors around. Some of them have directed. No, nobody's going to try. You've heard of Bob Hoskins. He's the man, Bob Hoskins. His best-known film works include lead roles in The Long Good Friday, Mona Lisa, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Mermaids. Kathy Price, which frequently used word for a disaster, derives from the Greek for overturning?
Catastrophe.
That's the one, yes. First performed in Moscow in 1901, Chekhov's play Three Sisters tells of the yearning of the Prozorov sisters to escape the monotony of provincial life for the excitement of Moscow. Olga and Masha are 2 of the sisters. What is the name of the third?
Sasha.
No. Tom Williams?
Katerina?
No. Brian Rolls?
Tatiana.
No. Very pretty names. No, Rob Butlin?
Ludmilla.
No, it's Irina. I-R-I-N-A. Brian Rolls. Now, which type of bright red, spiky-rinded, egg-shaped fruit has a name that derives from the Malayan word for hair?
Is that a durian?
It isn't. No. Tom Williams?
Lychee?
Nope. Rob Butlin?
Passion fruit?
No. Kathy Price?
Dragon fruit.
No. It's called a rambutan. You know it? Yes, rambutan. Also the name of the tree that produces this edible fruit. Now, Tom Williams, your music question features an extract from a 2017 #1 hit by a British singer. It might come as a surprise to
Bruno Mars?
No. Rob Butlin?
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith with his song Too Good at Goodbyes. You're right, yes. Which means that at the end of today's Heat of Brain of Britain 2018, the final scores must be these. Kathy Price 4, Rob Butlin 7, Brian Rolls 8, Tom Williams 9. Many congratulations to Tom Williams, who'll be back for the semi-finals, and thanks to the other three of you for a very close contest. Another 4 Brains will be with me here at the Radio Theatre in London next time, and I hope you'll be able to listen. From us all, goodbye.